Welcome to Wellness is a Way of Life, the podcast for female leaders seeking sustainable energy, clarity, and confidence. I'm Megan Swan, your guide on a journey to mastering wellness as an integrated part of your life. Let's explore personalized wellness strategies that truly resonate with who you are. Welcome back to Wellness is a Way of Life. Today, I wanted to talk about the relationship between alcohol, sugar, and anxiety, and ultimately how to understand your sugar cravings better and how to feel better right now. So I've been developing this workshop for a summit, and there's just something so important, I think, to understand. And it took me many years actually to understand that, I quit sugar, if you will, or tried to, and really understood how deeply sugar sweets impacted my ability to regulate my mood as a new overtired, overstressed, sleep-deprived mom. It's just so direct for me. And I would love to know from you if you've noticed this. And if you haven't, I invite you to tune in. So when you eat something that's really sweet, whether it's like a beverage that has sugar in it, and usually, at least for me, it's, refined sugar something. This doesn't happen if I have something with honey or maple syrup. It's refined sugar. And so many processed foods have refined sugar in it, like even a bag of Doritos, for example. It's salty, but it's this whole beautiful, let me see if I come to the word. There's this word that the industry uses. There's like the perfect mix. It's like the most addictive mix between salt or sodium, sugar, and fat that, most snacky processed foods try to reach. Anyway, I digress. So one thing, first you understand, and you probably already know this on some level, that both sugar and alcohol trigger dopamine activation, meaning when you have a drink or something sweet, like you immediately get this warm, fuzzy feeling. It triggers like this response that ultimately, of course, encourages you to continue consuming it because you think like, oh, this is making me feel amazing. And you keep chasing that warm, fuzzy feeling that dopamine induces. But then anytime that the system like flushes, it rushes one hormone like dopamine to the system, you get like a trigger reaction where then the body tries to reestablish balance by releasing extra of the opposite action hormone. So in this case, cortisol, which is for your stress response and essentially triggers you having a sense of anxiety, puts you on high alert, like, fight or flight, what's next, what do I need to do, what's all, that's what cortisol, which of course has its positive functions, but you don't need to have extra cortisol being sent into your system just because you had a chocolate bar, right? So, or you had a glass of wine. So it's this like warm, fuzzy, and then depending on how much you're consuming and how quickly, like anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, you're getting this like elastic reaction, poured cortisol into your system. And these fluctuations, so first of all, you have like a rapid spike and subsequent crashes in your blood glucose levels, right? And so this intake and like what for a lot of people is like constant fluctuations leads to increased production of cortisol overall, right? So you can talk on the micro level, like in a given example of how this is happening in your system. But if you are relying on sugar and or alcohol to feel good, your body is actually dealing with these fluctuations by, in general, producing more cortisol. So then it becomes that, it's this like self-fulfilling prophecy, because then now it's even harder for you to get that sense of dopamine or the dopamine warm fuzzy without these substances. Before, without this sort of constant fluctuation, relying on sugar or alcohol to feel good, your system would feel good after a good night's sleep or going out in nature or, a hug or a smile, like the basic things in life that trigger also dopamine, but in lower amounts. So it's so important that you understand this relationship. In the case of alcohol, it activates HPA, the HPA axis. So it leads to an elevated cortisol level, and chronic alcohol consumption can result in sustained high cortisol, which ultimately contributes to a sense or a feeling of stress and anxiety over time, just based on your hormones. Like, this is not you reacting to your environment. It's just like a given day. I'm sure you've heard this new term being thrown around, hangxiety. Like, instead of a hangover, it's hangxiety, because we have all this science now to help us understand like what that is. So of course, like talking about a hangover, there's multiple layers, which I learned over the years as I peeled them back. I used to smoke a lot in my raving days. And so just not smoking made the hangover way better. And then when I quit alcohol, I realized you have a sense of a hangover just by not sleeping the night before. And of course, when you've consumed a lot of alcohol, or I would add a lot of sugar the night before, you're not going to sleep properly. And so you wake up not well rested and you have this hangover sensation. And this hangxiety describes the anxiety experienced after alcohol consumption. As alcohol's effect wear off, the brain's chemical balance is disrupted, leading again to heightened anxiety because of this flood of cortisol to the system as like an intention on the body's part to reestablish balance. So I just wanted to bring that all to your attention because I think it's so important. This is a time of year that a lot of people are doing like dry January or experimenting, hopefully not doing like the traditional diet. I'm also going to share my process. I'm, reining in my own. I really indulged over the holidays, and what I invite clients to do indulge. Like, we're not designed, nothing in nature is designed to do the exact same thing every day. So we have this deep core human need. There are 6 core human needs. Maybe I should do a podcast on that as well. Let me know if you're interested. But 2 of them are like consistency and routine. Predictability is one core emotional need as a human. But the next one is variety. So if you don't build in variety into your health and well-being routines, meaning allow yourself some breathing room, some ebb and flow. So in my case, it was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to have like whipped cream and sprinkles and marshmallows. Like there was this hot chocolate trail. It's like, well, I'm not doing wine tours, so I'm going to enjoy myself. And I'm going to do it in a way that we can do it as a whole family. The kids can enjoy too. And we were all, by the end of it, like, no, I don't need another hot chocolate. I'm good. Which is the point. Like, indulge, be all there, enjoy it. Don't feel guilty. Take it all in. Be present in that moment when you're indulging, but also observe. This self-awareness is one of several superpowers going into futures of which we are facing. Self-awareness. So I'm enjoying it, but then also I'm highly aware that it's giving me a bit of a stomach ache 20, 30 minutes later, or maybe immediately, because I would often just let them have regular milk and I don't usually drink that. So my system's like, what are we doing? Or it would slow my digestion. Not ideal. It would feel amazing and I would have this spike in energy and then not. So just reining it in for myself because I enjoyed it. Indulgent, check. And now my body is craving that consistency. My body is like, where are my smoothie bowls and my cucumber sticks and my kale every other day? And same for my kids. Like, we're all on board. Like, as soon as all the chocolate was eaten over the holidays, we're like, yeah, I'm good. And it feels good. So then you're like newly, jazzed to get back to a routine. And it's that kind of energy. And by the way, if that's not how you're feeling at this time of year, don't beat yourself up. Because again, tuning into nature, winter, the dead of winter is not like a jump start energy. It is a seeds have been planted, let's rest, let's hibernate kind of energy. So this is why this year not this year, in general, my approach isn't like, oh my God, we're going to change everything 180. It's like, no, what are we adding in? Sure, we're like not having the hot chocolate with whipped cream, like take that out. But I'm not like this elastic, again, your system in balance. Like if you go one extreme to the other, it's not sustainable. Why not just add in? So we're adding in more fruit, more citrus, more dark leafy greens, eating a little bit less dairy, which is relatively easy for me. Like I can enjoy it, but also I don't really need it. And eating more plants, still not going like, oh, I'll never eat, whatever my husband makes that has meat in it. It's just, I'll have less, it's also we were eating tons of bread. Now we're back to the tortillas, which we love. I'm going to talk about the emotional part of sugar cravings in a minute, but on a physical level, you want to add in healthy fats and things that are full of fiber and nutrients in order to satiate prevent, I guess, sugar cravings. So nature's sugar, nature's candy, eat more fruit. This time of the year, in the dead of winter, you want to incorporate more citrus. It's amazing. Helps your body naturally detoxify itself and its blood. It helps boost your immunity. And it's refreshing. And at least where I am in Canada, it's in season. I mean, not in season, but it's like what's available and not that expensive. So healthy fats. Let's review. We bought like 15 different kinds of nuts, seeds. So, buy walnuts, pecans, hemp seeds, sesame seeds, the tamari almonds or salted almonds, cashews, chia seeds, flax. What am I missing? You can have a little bit of peanut butter, peanuts here and there, but you don't want that to be like, that's not actually a seed. It's inflammatory. But although it's a relatively healthy, it's a plant-based fat. What else? Yeah, avocados for us. That's not a nut or a seed, but it is a go-to, like have avocado instead of butter, have hummus instead of cheese, or just if you can afford it, have some avocado, bring that in. Also, like cook with olive oil and don't be shy with the olive oil. Mediterranean diet has always been like a good basic, I love the Blue Zones. So Blue Zones has a great resource bank on their website of recipes. There's also, they have both of their books. They have several cookbooks. So if you need inspiration for just bring in more legumes, nuts, seeds, dark leafy greens, fresh fruit, healthy fats, sardines, salmon, olive oil. I'm already getting hungry. So having more of those in your diet will make you help you feel satiated and not leave you craving sugar. So an easy rule of thumb, like way I always think about this is I grew up drinking skim milk and non-fat dairy. If you read the label, non-fat dairy, they've often added some sort of sugar or sweetener because it doesn't taste good without the fat. So if you're going to have dairy, try and make it local, try and make it organic. Don't go zero fat. You're like kind of wasting. It doesn't need to be full fat, but have some fat. Compare the labels. What has higher percentage of sugar? You don't want sugar. You aim for a little fat versus sugar. And again, plant-based, ideally, overall is the major source of your healthy fats, but a little bit of dairy fats, not anything to be worried about. So I think that was kind of it. Other things that you can consider when you're looking at sugar cravings in particular, I was going to touch briefly the emotional piece. So I think it's really helpful to give yourself some grace and really understand how it's not your fault. Like we, at least in North America, I would say Europe as well, like all of the world, really. I'm not as familiar with like Asian cultures in this sense, but like certainly in the Middle East, there's just this absolute adoration for sweets. We're told that sweets make a good gift. So they express love. They're comforting. And you sit down with a gallon of ice cream, supposedly. And, for my girlfriends, it was like nibs. I can't really even eat many nibs anymore. I get a headache. But the point is, we're taught that it's like for grief, when you feel sad, when you feel down, have some sweets. It's actually going to make you feel worse, of course. But then also, like, it's the other spectrum. Anytime you want to celebrate, every major holiday, like, it's just baked into the tradition. Your birthday, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Easter, like, you name it, most of them have some intentional, specific, sweet element. So you associate all of these incredibly lovely traditions that make you feel good with all of the sweets, which isn't to say that you can't indulge, hence the beginning of the story with me and Christmas and hot chocolate. But are you being intentional about indulging? And as soon as you understand the stories that you have been told and the stories that you are, as a result, probably still telling yourself about these things, and just taking a breather, a step back and being like, is that story true in general? Is it still true? Like, maybe it was true when you were 10 years old, but it's not true anymore. Like for me, or not when I was 10, like when I was in my 20s, Sex in the City and nibs or Twizzlers and a little bit of Haagen-Dazs was like the solution to anything, me and my girlfriends, US Weekly. That's not true anymore. Like, there's so many other things, or I can pull out the other elements. What's laughing, watching Sex in the City, or finding like the connection, relatability, spending time with my girlfriends. Sure, you can have like a handful of nibs, but I used to eat like a whole bag of nibs to myself. We'd each get, anyway, I'm not going to out my girlfriends. But the point is, you can take the threads of the most beautiful and true aspects of the stories that you're telling yourself about sugar and sweets, and probably for sure alcohol, and ask, is that still true? And what am I going to do about it? Maybe the opposite is true. What if I try that on? How does that feel? Let's experiment with that. So yeah, what are the stories you're telling yourself? Are they still true? What actually makes you feel energized? What makes you feel satiated but not heavy? Where are you getting your sweet? So again, like, I really don't believe in all and nothing. So it's not, okay, I wasn't even paying attention to what was being put in these hot chocolates. So they probably had refined sugar and like a bunch of chemicals, they're all using these hot chocolate powders or whatever. Now I'm back to making like real cacao with raw cacao, eating healthy chocolate that has benefits and micronutrients and boosts, especially the female mood and the ability, your serotonin production. And what am I eating to support my digestion? So that's like the fiber, more plants, boost immunity, citrus, fresh berries, and then the healthy fats. Carry with you some sort of nut or seed. Yeah, try and have avocado here and there. And really, hydration is a big key too. Like, so this is another thing about self-awareness. When are you maybe eating when actually you're hungry? So just stay hydrated. It's kind of a thing that we forget. I had forgotten this aspect of living in a cold climate. When you're not sweating or out, it doesn't like seem hot. It doesn't hit you or occur to you to hydrate as much as you do during the summer. You need to stay hydrated, and that really helps with the sense of like feeling full, and then really understanding like, are you just thirsty versus hunger? And then in the winter, like, I mean, really, you never want to be drinking ice water, but I just drink warm water with lemon, warm water. Like, I make a tea with fresh mint. It doesn't need to be cold water, and ideally shouldn't be. And then like the healthier dopamine sources. So the healthy food gives you the warm fuzzy feeling. It's just not the warm fuzzy bang that like a chocolate bar gives you. Movement, in music, gratitude, also a great source of dopamine stimulation. community, again, your friends, call a friend. Remember that show? What's the show called where you can call a friend? Anyway, nature. So yeah, just embrace nature. A little sun in your face, even if it's through a window because it's freezing outside. Meditation, of course, breath work, and then sleep. You wake up well rested, and all of that helps with regulation of your hormones so that you have like nice, natural, easygoing fluctuations of dopamine and cortisol in a productive way that keeps you going about your day and doesn't make you feel like you're high anxiety or, constantly needing to reach for sugar or alcohol to feel that warm, fuzzy feeling. So I hope that was of interest. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please reach out to me on social media at Megan Swan Wellness on LinkedIn and or Instagram. I love you. Mwah. Thanks for tuning in to Wellness is a Way of Life. Are you ready to make wellness a natural part of your routine? Let's stay connected. Go to meganswanwellness.com. Until next time, live well and thrive.